So welcome everyone to this webinar, Pain, a Different Perspective. And yeah, we're really excited to come to you today. I've got myself obviously and Dr. Joanna's joining me today. And yeah, we're really excited to do this webinar for you. For me in particular, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Meera and I'm from the UK, near London, Hertfordshire, just northwest of London. And yeah, I've had a long journey with pain, really. And so for me, the fact that I've changed my relationship with pain and no longer suffer has been the catalyst for wanting to share that with other people. You know, peace is always possible, and pain isn't quite what we think it is. You know, the more I've explored with pain, the more I've recognized that it's not as tangible as I first thought it was. And there's so many different factors that affect it, that if we uncover those, it can dramatically change our experience of everything as well, not just of pain. It's very broad and goes across all of your life, actually. So yeah, for me, pain is always possible, but suffering is optional. And for me, to reduce and even eliminate suffering is absolutely what has happened for me. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to inspire you and give you some tips and hints so you can start to see how that's possible in your own experience. So yeah, I'll hand over to Dr. Joanna if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Meera. So beautiful, inspiring. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I would just like to set an intention for this webinar, because it's really important that we set an intention so that we can all kind of tune into the field and just be like all creating something, you know, miraculous and beautiful at the same time all together. So I'll just say mine, and if it resonates with you, that's great. Otherwise, you can choose your own. I know you can even put it in the chat. So I like to help to bring a new perspective to your pain today, your pain fear trap, and give you a sense that your pain has a deeper wisdom, so that the space and the curiosity can open so that you can start to listen to your pain. So I had a big journey as well with pain. I had chronic pain for almost the majority of my adult life. And I broke the chronic pain cycle about 2019, and since then I've been helping people break their chronic pain cycle as well. And it basically started from a fall from a horse, or I originally thought it had started from a horse, fall from a horse, the age of 15. And actually, by the age of 37, I had about 18 different symptoms, including lower back and upper arm pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. I was various, you know, hip and sacrum pain, various other different joints. And I was just like a complete mess. I was completely broken. And I just wanted to find a solution fast and furious. And it was actually when I stopped trying to find a fast and furious solution that I started to really change my relationship with the pain. And this is what we're talking about today, is about changing the perspective. So, you know, we're going to share of us both are going to share a different perspective for you today, which hopefully one of them will resonate with you, and you can take it home and start to practice it today. But the idea is to give you just a kind of like, I just want you to be, we have an open mind and an open heart to what we're going to be saying today, so that we can actually changing the perspective of your pain, and your relationship with your pain is the number one thing that we would like to do today. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Joanna. It's lovely to have you here with me. So yeah, I'll begin talking about how it used to be for me with pain. I was always ill, actually, you know, with ear infections and sore throats and colds, and really it was like I was always battling and struggling against life, and seemingly my body was never cooperative with me, if you like, or it was reflecting how I was struggling. Actually, the struggles very quickly, I think, show up in my body. And so for me, it just seemed to be, that's the way my life was, you know. And it wasn't until things got a lot worse, when I got to the point, not long after I had my honeymoon with my husband, actually, when we got married, and I came back because I had repetitive food poisoning when I was over there, and possibly some other bugs, although they never found anything that untoward. But that led into ME, and ME is very debilitating. If any of you have that, very debilitating experience, and not only is it physically exhausting and draining, and there's so many different other symptoms that people don't even recognize that come with it. It's also quite isolating, because a lot of people, particularly when I had it, which was, you know, decades ago, didn't understand it. I still don't think a lot of people understand it now, actually, and I think we're often seen as lazy, or dramatic, or, you know, all sorts of different labels that can be very isolating. It feels like nobody understands you, and so going through that, and then having children when I gradually got enough energy to be able to carry on with my life, which came about through Reiki healing energy and color light therapy, healed me to a certain degree so I could actually get on with a life at all. But then with the birth of my second child, I had a very rare condition called symphysis pubis dysfunction, and that left me unable to walk, and in excruciating pain. And it then turned into long-term chronic pain, which is even rarer. Even if you get the condition, it's rarer for it to continue past the birth of your child. But yeah, yeah, trust me, it would be me the one in a million rather than the lottery win. It's the health issue, you know. And it's it was such a hard thing to have two young children and not being able to walk, you know. And my mum, who's on the call today, actually was amazing helping me with that. But for me, I think I just got to the breaking point where I just didn't want to be here anymore, because the pain was so extreme and there was just no sign of a life at all, really. I was just barely existing. And I think that actually triggered quite a profound experience that kind of gave me hope. And I think once I got hope, I then started looking. And when I started looking, I started finding. And I think that's the thing for me, is sometimes we have to get to rock bottom. We have to get to the point where that's it. We can't tolerate anymore. And I think sometimes we get to a point where we have reached that, but we know when we really have, because that's when we open up. You know, that's when we actually open up and become more willing to do things a different way. Because if you do things the way you've always done them, then you're obviously always going to get the same results. But I don't think we always see that, because it's like we're almost in a goldfish bowl, you know, in our own experience, that we just don't recognize some of the things that we're doing or not doing. And then I had another experience later on, because as I explored and started to change my relationship with chronic pain and heal myself through, basically the foundation for that was the ascension techniques, as taught by the Bright Path Ishayas. And they gave me the capacity to change where my attention was, to release the stress stored within the body, and change my relationship with my mind and my emotions. So I could actually, you know, almost rest back a little bit in my experience and not just be battling with everything and lost in the feeling and the thought patterns. And so, yeah, then I had this experience when I broke my ribs, and yeah, that was now a different type of pain, an acute pain, and there was actual damage. So there was not so much the idea of the emotional impact on me that I had with long-term chronic pain, as well as the physical aspect and the mental. But with this, there was actual damage. But, you know, I'm quite a curious person, and I think that always works in my favor, I think. Because I remember being in really bad pain and winded, and you can hardly move when you've got broken ribs. I couldn't lie down at all. So I was sat up all the time, day and night, for, you know, 6 to 8 weeks. And there just came a point when I just thought, I wonder if this is the only experience I can have right now, because like the idea was I've broken my ribs, that's it, I just have to suffer through this. And then I kind of got curious, and I just started using my ascension techniques and watching and exploring and just seeing. And I think that curiosity allowed me to kind of show up in this moment, pay attention. And then it's almost like I slipped into another operating mode, if you like. And then I went from, you know, extreme suffering, barely able to move without winding myself, to actually no suffering and actually no pain, really. I could still feel, you know, the site of the injury. I could feel that as a body sensation, but it was neither here nor there. I didn't need it to be gone. I wasn't bothered by it at all. And then when I wanted to reach and get a drink, it's like I had more movement and fluidity of movement. You know, it was just absolutely amazing. And I continued exploring through the, you know, many weeks that I was recovering from the broken ribs. And so it's fleeting at first, you know, because it's like then we go back into our original patterns of resisting and fighting and battling against what's happening. You know, we don't like it, we label it as bad and wrong, and then the mind kind of wants to change it, but it's the desire to change it that actually keeps us in the experience. And so as I was exploring and playing and allowing it to be there, then I'd dip into this easy, smooth, present, relaxed state where there wasn't the level of pain anymore, and the greater level of mobility. It was lovely. And so I started to be able to stay there more and more. So it became more of a consistent experience. And I still explore and play with it now, with everything and anything that arises. I'm actually almost excited, you know, if I get a headache or an ache or pain, because it's just like, how tangible is this? You know, is this possible? And typically it's not. And so that actually not only changes my relationship with my body, and pain isn't really a tool there a lot of the time. You know, there's maybe aches and a little bit of discomfort occasionally. But even if I get fleeting stabbing pain, it just doesn't remain. So yeah, for me, not at any point deciding, oh, I've got this now, I understand this, but actually always being open and willing to see what else is possible. And yeah, not kind of frame it as if, you know, I know what I'm doing now, because yeah, the world has a way of showing you that you're not there. And that actually, that's good in a way though, because it allows me to keep exploring. So I don't know if that resonates with you, Dr. Joanna, but what's it like for your experience? How was pain for you, and how did it change over time?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. I mean, I think we've all been to the kind of depths of our, well, depths of pain or depths of chronic pain. And it's actually kind of an interesting moment that we can use as a springboard. And this is exactly what I did with my chronic pain. I was in total despair. And just to backtrack, I mean, I had pain, like I said, until started at the age of 15, but I was, you know, in and out of doing osteopathy and various other chiropractors and various other alternative medicines, acupuncture, homeopathy, various other things, to such a degree that I actually changed my location. I wanted to move from UK and move to Crete, because I knew that the temperature, you know, and the weather helps, you know, warmer weather helped my chronic pain. So it was actually a choice to move, help me with my, you know, move to warmer weathers, let's say. So that, you know, you can imagine like how much that was, it was affecting me. And I just had various different flare-ups over the years, and I never seemed to I was in and out. It was flaring up and flaring. The last one that really, you know, basically was a springboard that I'm just going to talk about now was when I was doing my PhD in the Institute of Research in Crete. And I'm an immunologist. I studied immunology in Edinburgh University, but also master's and PhD in Crete. And I just got to the point where I was in so much pain that I just couldn't even do the dissecting of the mice that I had to do, you know, the minute, you know, injections and tail vein injections and all these things that I was discovering, you know, science, R&D. I was in R&D and I just literally couldn't function. So it was debilitating, to say the least. And I just got to the point where I just started, I was just like, what can I do? I mean, I can't function. So I actually quit my job. I quit I quit R&D. One of the reasons why I quit was because, first of all, because of the debilitating pain that I had. And I thought maybe the stress of performing and being in that environment actually created, the stress, because I knew about mind-body syndrome and, the effect of stress on your body. As an immunologist, it was one of the things that, I was very fascinated with all my life. So this pain was just kind of like showing me maybe I need to make another decision, a life-changing decision. And I decided, against the will, the advice of my mother, and family members, like, it's not the right 2013, it's not the right time to make a decision, change of career and change of lifestyle. And I was like, well, I've got to do something, because I just couldn't function. So and I eventually went to the doctors and got a diagnosis with fibromyalgia, which is a autoimmune umbrella disease, which was given to me as a diagnosis for all these kind of strange ailments and pain, moving pain. I had literally moving pain. Sometimes it was in one hip, but then it was in the other, but sometimes it was in my one toe and then it moved to the other toe, in the joints generally. But I was in, and so I decided to move to become a resilience farmer with my partner at the time. And then we had a family, and we lived, I'm very kind of naturalist, and I like, I'm very much conservationist and all the rest of it. So I was like, resilience farming, slow down lifestyle, that's going to help me. But unfortunately, the pain had another story to tell. I had a flare, even though it did reduce massively over that time. The first couple of years, I was, yay, I can move again, I could walk again, until the birth of my child, which actually triggered a lot more, another flare up, to the point where I was again totally unable to move. I was literally planting lines of garlic and lines of onions, and I was just, my whole body was screaming with pain, and my, bending over was the worst and, the least thing I wanted to do. But as a farmer and a mother, picking up my toddler and picking up her socks and her toys from the floor was, totally excruciating. And I got to the point where I had this, what does my pain, what is it screaming about? Something's not on, something's not right. And I just basically started to listen. I got to the point where I was, the pain was a message, was a wisdom. I just started to tune into that. I just started to ask, okay, so what do you want to tell me? And you get to this point, as Meera was saying, that you get to the point where you just can't function anymore, or it doesn't even have to get to that point, because that's what the point our crescendo of pain was there. But you can do it, starting with a niggle, or starting with, the pain that you have right now. It doesn't have to get to the worst case scenario. But the point is that we can, we change the feeling, the relationship we have with our pain, and we start to, as soon as I started to incorporate it and start to, nurture and look at it and ask what is it that it wants to tell me, the danger signals in my body were, fell away, which is basically what's perpetuating the pain fear cycle. Is perpetuated by the feelings of being structurally abnormal, having diagnoses after diagnoses, and various other things that create a loop of fear and pain, which creates chronic, because it's learned pain. So basically the idea is that if you can use it as a springboard, the moment that you have pain, and start to change your relationship to having a very nurturing, curious, you could even have a dialogue. There's so much work going on now with parts work, and it's taking actually, the psychology and healing and mind body work by storm at the moment, because I can talk about this in our in the next webinar that we're going to be doing again with Meera. But the idea is that you can start to generate a dialogue with your pain. So you can ask it, you know, what is your basic need? What is your need? Why do you need to create this pain in my shoulder and my, you know, and my hip or whatever it is, or my back? That that's perpetuating. Why do you need to do this? So you start to, but in a very loving and curious and nurturing and compassionate way, rather than I want to get rid of you. So you change your relationship. You change it from it being danger to start to look at it as a wisdom, and there is a wisdom behind the pain. This is one of my why my title of my package of my healing process is called The Wisdom of Pain. So we need to just start to look at what it is that's behind it, and what does it want to tell you, Meera?
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? You know, and it's like the Rumi quote, isn't it? You know, the cure for the pain is in the pain. I never really understood that at all when I first heard it. It seems so alien to me, you know, like how can that be possible? Because it just feels like this this thing that's happening to you, you know, rather than there being a reason, a functioning reason that it's happening. And I think we feel so out of control with it sometimes, don't we, with pain, you know, and the mind really wants to know why. And the whole medical world wants to know why. And you know, it's important to explore medically if there's anything that, you know, is a known reason that they can do something about. But typically with pain, that there isn't so much, or it's a managing of symptoms, and which sometimes can be effective and sometimes it can't. And for me, with medication, I always found that, you know, like when my pain got so bad they put me on morphine. The first time I used morphine, it worked for me quite successfully, and I was just like, oh bliss, you know, like this pain's gone. The second time, just the second dose I took it, I couldn't even move off my bed. I was floored, I was dizzy, I was sick, and the pain was, you know, nowhere near as reduced as it was before. So I was just, yeah, I never touched it again after that. And I'm actually quite grateful that I didn't get into that downward spiral with morphine, because I know from other people that have done that I think you just have to keep upping the dose. It's not necessarily a long-term solution, I don't think.
No,
and for me, because of that, yeah, I found I had to explore other ways. And so for me, one of the things within my exploration that I noticed was, well, actually, I was introduced to it by an Ishaya teacher. And yeah, it's something that I kind of didn't like the sound of to start with. And that was, you know, the fact that we're experiencing pain because we're resisting. And it was, you know, the invitation to allow the pain to be there. I'm like, you're kidding, aren't you? You know, like, no, I do not want the pain to be here. And yet I had an amazingly profound experience once at a meditation retreat with the Bright Path Ishayas, with somebody who, you know, I came out of the room from meditating for probably an hour or two, and I was in excruciating pain. And, you know, I went to the teacher just like, help me, stop it. How do I can't, it's, you know, while I was meditating, it was building up and up and up and up, because that's what meditation will do. You know, it's allowing everything, all the stresses to be released. Particularly the ascension techniques are actually very useful at doing that, very effective at doing that. And sometimes that can be a bad thing if you just keep using them, because actually what you're doing is releasing more, and you're not actually allowing what's there, you know, to be there so it can move. And yeah, I just remember, you know, saying, can you help? And, you know, very patient and kind, and sat me down and just looked me in the eyes and just said, can you just let it be there right now? You know, and I'm just like, 95% of me wanted to scream at him, no, I don't want it to be here. And yet there was something about the way he looked at me. There was such a gentleness and an openness and a kindness. And, you know, it's almost like I wanted to please him. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll let it be there right now. And it was such an amazing experience, because like instantly the pain went, not some of the pain, all of the pain. And it was just like completely and utterly vanished. And I just remember blinking at him, you know, like I just couldn't fathom what happened, you know, the fact that I could be in such extreme pain to no pain in the blink of an eye. That just made no sense. Like my mind couldn't even get in there, because it was just like, what? But but I was experiencing it, so that trumped what the mind was saying, because the experience was actually happening through me, in that very moment. And that was like the first turning point for me to see that actually allowing, there's something in this allowing. Of course it was a bit of a back and forth dance, because for me, often allowing would be, I knew it would go if I allowed, so I would allow it to be there, so it would go. It's not the same thing. There's controlling in that it took a little bit of a back and forth dance to kind of explore with that, to see when I was actually fully allowing it to be there. And now I'm just recognizing to let everything into my experience, actually, because it's even like when we're looking at emotions, because often people have emotional pain as well. And if we're looking at emotions, we've got positive emotions and negative emotions. But in my experience, we actually don't have the two different types of emotions. What we have is what we experience as positive is because we're allowing it. So it's free flowing. And what we see as negative is we're pushing it away, we're repressing it. So there's like a pressure and intensity that builds up. And that's what we call pain. And that's often extends into what we call physical pain. It's actually an emotion that we feel in the body. I mean, how do we know we're having an emotion? We feel it in the body, right? And so for me, if you recognize an emotion that you're not wanting, if you can recognize and look at where you see and feel it in the body and just come to the actual body sensation, then ultimately it's a bit more tangible now, and then you have a little bit more ability to allow it. And actually just in the watching, allowing happens. So you're not contriving allowing, you're just putting your attention away from the mind's dialogue, because typically if you're experiencing pain, there will be dialogue there will always be dialogue in the mind about the body part or the story around what's happening. Everyone that has pain has a pain story, and it's a very gripping story. It's utterly believable, and we're immersed in it, so we don't even see it. And that's why coming back to just watching the body part enables space to happen and starts to allow what wants to move. And then it feels pleasant. And then obviously, really all that's happening is allowing is happening. So there's not that intensity and pressure. So there's no experience of pain any longer, and certainly no suffering. Does that resonate with you, Dr. Joanna?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is also the kind of new, that you talked about morphine and the pain management. I mean, it's just basically the conventional medicine has, have kind of put their arms up high, they're just the hands up, they just don't know what to do. And yet we're bombarded, it's like 50% of I think it's the latest figure is like 50% of doctors' visits are chronic pain and unknown causes of pain or unknown causes of ailments. So it's like where there has to be a serious shift because right now the system is not working, and there is other alternatives, and this way that the idea that you can change your relationship, change your perspective, and change your relationship with the pain has incredible results. And I mean, you have two sitting in front of you now, but it happens regularly. My clients have had a lot of success with 20 years, 30 years of chronic pain, and in a couple of weeks changing their perspective and having this developing a relationship with their pain. Even I had a client, for example, who really had a struggle with her shoulder, and she'd had it for years and years and years, and she just started to really tune into the shoulder and start to really see which part of the what it was that it wanted to say. And she started to develop this relationship with her shoulder, which was actually it was like a kind of inner child, a part of her inner child. And this is what I'm talking about, parts work. It's so incredible because you can start to create a dialogue. And once you start to create a dialogue, then you can actually find out what the needs are. And once you have the needs, then you can fulfill those needs, and that role of that part can actually move on. So the part of the pain, which is there to tell you something as a warning signal, And if you can start to just tune into that, it as a warning light, there's something that's not quite right in your physical and your mental or your emotional life that needs, and spiritual, but let's leave the spiritual side for the moment. But let's just, we need to change something. And this is the kind of the warning light, the alarm bell that shouts and, well, starts to shout, calls and then starts to shout and then starts to scream in chronic pain. And there is this aspect that you need to just, as we're talking about, just let it be, or look at it in a different way. So don't, first of all, don't try and get rid of it. So whatever you resist persists, as we don't all know, but hopefully we're starting to understand. That as soon as you start to resist something, that can be in any area of your life, is the same. So we need to start to look at it as a wisdom. And when we tune into that, and it can be a spark to ignite your pain to power journey, which is such an important, part of the pain that's there because it wants to tell you something. And so it has a deep wisdom. And by stopping and listening, and just allowing it, as Meera beautifully explained, how it worked with her and with me as well, this just allowing to, expand up and out, and just it's like an emotion, that needs to move. The energy is there that needs to move, and all this, we put these like chains on it. Actually, we chain it back to our bodies because we're like contracting and trying to keep it, like trying to not be it, not see it and not feel it. And that is totally counterintuitive. And just by trying to change that relationship with your pain and no longer seeing it as an enemy, but a deep wisdom of your innate health trying to tell you something, that something needs to change. And yeah, it's such a beautiful journey that you can embark on, and from today even. So like, I really invite you to try.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a beautiful invitation, because that's the thing. It's like, we've got to want to explore, haven't we? We've got to be willing. I think for me, willingness comes into it. And it's not like everyone's deliberately unwilling, but it's recognizing, by paying attention, to see the little ways, and for me, like with our pain, we can be really blindsided by pain, because it just so encompasses our experience. But if you start to look into your everyday life, like the way you relate with other people, the way you approach tasks, and for me, that got to show me the way I approached life, which was often, almost just like fight or flight mode, and very fierce and forceful approach. And so, having changed my relationship, and often, if pain comes up, if I'm sitting down, really easy to just witness it and it to go. But often what I would find, and what I'm still exploring with now, is as I move around, that I go into, it's almost like I'll stand up, and then I'm into, like, it's almost like I walk from here, like I'm leaning forward and marching forwards. And I see it so clearly now. And so I kind of call it moving with awareness. Just like the minute you're aware that everything feels tense or rigid, or some part of you is hurting as you're moving around, whether it's carrying out a task or walking or whatever it is that you're doing, that you just pause for a moment. And a pause is so useful, because it just automatically, your awareness expands just by pausing and noticing, like, right, what's hurting, where it is, and almost just like letting yourself come back into the body fully. Because like, you think you'd be in the body if you're experiencing pain, but it's almost like, for me, it's like you're just off to one side almost. It's like you're almost trying to run away from, energetically, away from being so fully in your body. And when I do that, and it's almost just like a reset, ground, am I feeling, the earth underneath my feet if I'm walking, or if I'm, typing, really being aware of the sensation of the keys of the computer underneath my fingers. And then I land more fully in the moment. You just become present by using your senses. And then it's almost like, what can I see? What can I hear? So that expansion goes more and more, and then continue again with your task, but just aware of your body and how it's moving, you know. And so what I find then is, like, from marching forward in this kind of almost like I'm rushing, but I'm not moving very fast because I can't, approach, and then it's like I'm more grounded, rested back in my experience, and in my body, and then I walk forward, and it's like the intention then is to walk with my legs rather than this feeling of almost my forehead or my upper body being, you know, the driving force for the walking. And it's just like, well, if you're walking, it's just like your legs are what do the walking, aren't they? So just by coming back, bringing all my energy back down into the earth, and then, right, okay, I'm going to walk with my legs, and then I watch how I walk, and it's incredibly different, and it's often quite shocking. And so that's my dance back and forth at the moment, is, you know, it's much more of a gentle, fluid experience when I move now. And every now and then I'll just go into something, and then it's just, I notice quite quickly now though. So that's something that you can all explore with after this webinar and the week ahead, is how you move, how you carry out the tasks that you do a lot. You know, for me too, if I'm at my laptop, it'd be like the shoulders come up, you know, and then I'm just like, ooh, and then I just noticing, and everything. I don't even need to kind of force my shoulders down, because that's what I used to do, is try and put them back in. But it's forcefulness. Your body wants to rebalance itself, so you kind of just need to watch and allow that to happen, in my experience.
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that, because about habits, we're basically creatures of habit. So we actually have habits, you know, we function from our subconscious mind, which is the habit-based, you know, center. And we have habits for everything: the way we talk, the way we walk, the way we speak, you know, the way we eat, the way we sleep. And all of these habits are actually creating our realities. We have habits of, you know, physical habits. We have also mental and emotional habits. So all these habits are actually creating our, you know, our reality that we have right now. We're creating it, and with our consciousness. And so consciousness is perspective, or our awareness. And so it ties in with what you're saying, Meera, because that's exactly also, you know, one of the ways that I broke the pain cycle was actually realizing, first of all, the wisdom of the pain and what it wants to tell me, and changing my relationship with the pain, so that it's no longer an enemy that I want to get rid of. It's now, you know, a guiding light. Actually, it's like a spark that can ignite the journey of healing, but also general well-being and health, right? So and this is what I was doing. You have a much more gentle way of doing it. I like structure and routine, and so I actually started building what I call habit building for painless living. So it's basically, you introduce a system. You have a system that introduces habits, new creative habits, into your life that upgrade your life. So for example, in physical, you start a movement habit, or you start, you know, you decide that you want to do some more, you know, the way that you want to eat, you eat better. So then you have look at your physical, your emotional habits as well. There's obviously a lesson that has to be learned. You know, perhaps you're not regulating your emotions. You're not allowing your emotions to come in. Perhaps there is a lot of the stress of our lifestyle these days is actually incredibly triggering, and we're actually just on edge and, like you said, in fight, flight, freeze mode most of the time, which is incredibly for the nervous system and the physiology of the body, incredibly contracting. So all of the muscles are in this constant, right, I need to get out of here really fast, so let's let's look, it's you're constantly on a high alert. And so this is creating also, the perpetuation of chronic pain as well. So by changing your emotional and physical mental habits, by upgrading, so first of all, noticing which habits are no longer serving you and which ones that you would actually like to incorporate into your life so that you can upgrade. For example, simple things like I do now a gratitude diary because I just want to be more grateful. It's not something that for when you're in chronic pain, you can be very, especially when you're in severe chronic pain, the gratitude doesn't come so easily. At least it wasn't for me, until I started to actually just really get into an awareness and a state of, doing it habitually, but then it becomes a ritual, and actually something that, is a sacred ritual for me now, that I absolutely love creating that space in the morning, my morning ritual, and which is elevating my vibration. So I'm no longer in this kind of, poor me, or, negative or aggressive or angry state. We're more in a much more higher, high vibration state, which also helps. And also reducing the fight, flight, or you can either be in the fight, flight, freeze mode, or in rest, digest, and rejuvenate mode. So by doing that, by kind of choosing habits and having the choices in your daily actions to help you remember to be in that more rest, digest, and rejuvenate mode, has been, totally transforming for me, and my clients as well. But it's more that you're doing it as an awareness. Yeah, it's a reminder to keep yourself in awareness mode, and upgrade your habits, because we all function over habits. It's just whether you choose them or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And that for me is important, to be able to have the choice. When I was so lost in the pain, I didn't even have the choice. Yeah. And I just want to open up to see if anybody has any questions for us while we're on the webinar, those that are with us now. And if you can type them into the chat box for us, and then we'll answer them for you. So just while you're doing that, to give you a little bit of time, if you've got any questions and you'd like to type them in. I just want to tell you a little story about that I heard once about how it was for soldiers coming back from war, because this fascinated me. It really fascinated me, because particularly seeing how many people have got are on high doses of morphine these days, and there were soldiers coming back from war with really horrendous injuries. And because they were so relieved and so grateful, it's that word again, grateful, to be back from, this awful environment that we're in, and knowing that they were so badly injured they wouldn't have to go back to war ever, they didn't need morphine, or a very, very low dose of the morphine, because they just simply weren't in pain, and I just think that's amazing, because we're talking injuries, like worse or similar to like a really bad car crash accident, where people are typically on quite high doses of morphine until they start to heal a little bit. And yet, because they were so grateful and so relieved, I suppose, and filled with so much joy to still be alive, and to be back in a safe environment and being nurtured and looked after, that they didn't need morphine. And I find that absolutely fascinating, because that just goes to show how subjective pain is, and how many factors it impact on our experience, and that actually to just jump in there and give morphine, I'm not suggesting we don't, and I know certainly there are lots of people who totally need that, because it's so debilitating they wouldn't be able to have a life. But for me, I'm just like, what's possible, like be on the morphine, but then explore what else is possible, so that you can gradually lower the dose and come off it, and have a life free from pain, actually, because a lot of what we call pain is suffering, and suffering only happens when we resist. So really, for me, it's starting to recognize all those ways we resist, and resistance is unconscious, by the way. So like a lot of what we do, we've learned to repress emotions. It's an unconscious process. We also suppress them. We suppress emotions, but that's a conscious process. If we suppress them, as opposed to an unconscious process, is when we repress them. And resistance happens, across the board with our emotions, even with the way we think, the way we walk, the way we do things. There's so much resistance, and typically what we're resisting is an experience that's come about by resistance, so like we're already resisting unconsciously, and we haven't seen that, and then we don't like that, but resistance distorts our experience. So typically we're resisting the distortion that's already happened because of resistance. And so for me, with resistance, the first step is just to acknowledge it, to acknowledge that you're resisting. Don't worry that the fact that you're doing it, don't try to stop doing it, just acknowledge the fact that you're resisting. And particularly for me, don't beat yourself up because you are doing it, because once I recognize that that was the factor that made my pain more intense, if I saw that I was resisting in any way, shape or form, and there would be self-violence, oh, what are you doing that for? Oh, you stupid idiot, why are you resisting? This, and then that is like another layer of resistance and friction and pressure, and then it just intensifies. So that's the layer that you can address very quickly and easily, is don't beat yourself up and just acknowledge. And that's actually how I stopped beating myself up, was simply by acknowledging, landing in this moment and going, this is how it is. And then almost paying attention and thinking, well, what else is possible to me right now? And then that kind of opens up a different experience for you right there in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. The other layer is anger, anger towards the life, towards your situation, to the what is. And I noticed that with when I started the journey, this healing journey, with regards to, I noticed my anger levels massively increase. So the pain was there to stop me feeling anger, actually. And this is anger is a and rage even is a Freud was talking about it, and the psychoses of people going into the having these states because they just weren't allowed to express themselves. So we know that suppression causes a depression, and a pressing in of all these emotions is like a pressure cooker that just if you can't expand them out or express them, validate them and see them as they are, which is sometimes people don't even realize that they're suppressing their emotions. They don't even have any experience with that. So just anger is a big, I know, with my experience, anger of my situation of chronic pain, as soon as I took that off and acknowledged it and said, it is what it is, I can just be, just have the pain without the anger. That was one layer that I was able to remove, and working with regulating soothing tools has been remarkably helpful. And like I said, I think if I hadn't done that, so the pain would have gone inwards and created some kind of ailment or even disease, and perhaps chronic, like cancer or something like that, where I could die from. So it was actually, I started to thank it. It got to the point where I was like, thank you for showing me that I have a problem with anger, and I need to actually release and learn how to, this is a sign of adulthood, is to actually learn how to regulate, to soothe, and to no longer suppress and release our emotions to just as energy in motion, emotion. So as soon as we do that, actually that releases a lot of stuff, and a lot of chronic pain can be released immediately with that. So yeah, it's beautiful. So we've got a couple of questions that have come in, and the first one's from Ben, and he said, I've asked my pain what it wants many times, and the answer is always to rest. I don't get any other clues, just rest, which is what I do. Do you know, Ben, that's actually the experience I had, which I think is why I'm a little bit more exploratory, and I don't have such a systematic approach as you, Dr. Joanna, because that's kind of what I always found when I tried to explore that way. It's just like there was a barrier down. I wasn't really getting any answers other than, like you say, you need to rest, and often we're enforced to rest with pain and certain symptoms, aren't we? And so for me, that's where I started to then look out into the world around me and into the relationships I had. Into the way I've approached the world. And, Ben, you have an experience with pain, and I know I've done this with you before, but where we put our attention is what we experience, and if we're so fiercely resisting, and often safety is wrapped around that, like, if we let go, and that's an unconscious process, then, something bad will happen, and we don't even see that that's the case. So for me,
making yourself feel safe, making your environment congruent with peace, and just being willing for the answers to come, to be shown to you, because I think probably there's things that are coming up in your life and you might just not be seeing them, because we're just not opened up to every part of our life, you know. And so if you look at your life, Ben, and see how it's all lined up, you know, are you doing lots of things to control your environment to keep it safe, you know, and is that in a way coming back to bite you a little bit? And I think the answer will come for me if you're willing to keep exploring, you know, like don't take whatever you experience as the final answer. You know, that for me is what served me incredibly well, because I'm like, I don't accept this answer. This isn't, I know there's something else that's possible out there. You know, and it's like in the book I've written, you know, there's so much in there, Ben, and I know you have a copy of it. And it's like, explore, read the book, little bit by little bit. You know, I know when we're in pain, we kind of, I know particularly in my experiences where you may or may not relate to this, Ben, but I kind of like shut down and I just wanted, like, I would just need to rest. But, you know, you can rest, get yourselves comfortable, and then you can read a book, or you can, you know, do some activity that's very gentle and relaxing. So, yeah, I just invite you to read that and see what comes from that, and relate that to your everyday life, because the answers are there. But I know what you mean by there's almost like a shutdown, and we have to really be willing to let anything show us anything and everything in our everyday life, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the magic word is curiosity. It is really a state. It's a state of, you know, childlike state that you can really get into. And this is what I'm trying to explore with the word wisdom of pain, because it's got some deep meaning, some deep reason. And yeah, of course, there's the acute, you know, you get hit, you fall off and you break your leg or something, and you have, like, you know, of acute pain while you're in a healing process. But nobody understands this, you know, this everyone understands that the chronic is much more mind learnt, or let's wired in. And so it really is about perception. And if we can get into a curious state of perception, of wanting to perceive and receive the message as well. So rather than I gotta get a message from my pain, it's this, you know, okay, nothing's coming right now. Okay, let's try up again later. The intention actually can be set at night time as well. That's something that can be really nice if you could try and get your conscious mind and your kind of thinking mind out of the story, and just set an intention when you go to sleep. You know, I would like you to tell me while I'm sleeping what it is that you need in order to heal, or in order for you to, you know, while, you know, to ask your pain. So you can do that while you're while you're going to sleep, and then, you know, have a notebook just next to you, just so you can write down anything that you find in the morning, you know, a dream or something that comes up. So that's what I would suggest to you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. And so we've got another question from Arnie. And he's saying, I see pain as an indicator of a problem. How to distinguish between a problem that requires a medical solution and a problem that can be addressed with my mind? You know, and for me, you know, that's a really good point, actually. I would always get something checked out. Like, it's very important to get checked out to see if there is any medical issue. But while you're doing that, then you can also be exploring, so you can change your relationship. Because if you remember when I was saying about the broken ribs, yeah, I needed to have attention, that there were certain things that I needed to do to look after my body and help it to heal. And, you know, like if you've broken other bones, you'll need to have it, you know, set in a cast or whatever they do these days, so that you can have that alignment back with the bones and heal. But, you know, there's always the ability then to work alongside of that. And if you've exhausted all, you know, channels of medical discovery, that you then can explore with your relationship. And for me, it's more like pain needs your attention rather than it's saying that there's something wrong as well. It's something that I've started to recognize, that actually we don't always give our body the attention that it wants. Like I said, it's almost like we are that, you know, one step removed from it. We're not actually physically present in our body right now. And so just in terms of becoming more aware as you move and just noticing your environment around you, because that allows you to become more present in the body. And then you can explore all the things that we talk about, you know, with allowing the pain to be there. Or like Dr. Joanna was saying, you know, talking to the pain, relating to it. And for me, it's always about letting it be there. Almost like, you know, pain is, you know, a lost child knocking on your front door. And if you don't answer it, it gets louder and louder and louder. Let it in, let it in. Pay attention to the part of your body that is in pain, and notice what it's like. And notice too, is there any dialogue about the pain? Because I guarantee you there will be some. And the way we do that is almost bringing our attention away from our mind and back onto our body, fully 100% paying attention to your body. And, you know, the word curiosity there is curious, explore. What's, you know, because often when I say to people to do this, and, you know, I'll say, well, where is the pain? And they'll go, it's all over my body. It's everywhere. And I'm like, well, just watch for a moment. Is there, you know, like a focal point? And it's curious sometimes how we explore the body, and sometimes there'll be another part of the body that draws the attention. And then by the end of it, it can be very, very different experience, and often a much gentler experience, because when you take the element of the dialogue out, you're not getting those instructions. Every thought you have is like an instruction to your body. Your body is responding to it. And, you know, if you've ever noticed any of the thoughts that are going on in your head, a lot of them are negative, you know, that they're putting you down, they're criticizing, or they're criticizing something out there, you know, and that causes a lot of friction and pressure and tension in your body, like contracting in always. And, you know, pain typically is because there's a lack of oxygen in the area of the body physiologically. And, you know, emotionally we tense in, so then we tense parts of our body in response to that. And then the body can't work efficiently and effectively. And so, yeah, it's asking for your attention. And in a way, there is something wrong, because if you're, you know, holding too much tension in, and you literally, you know, you're not breathing in properly, or the blood isn't able to flow around as readily, then yeah, in a way, there's something wrong. But it requires your attention, not necessarily to be fixed or changed in any way, simply your attention and relaxation, so that you can actually allow the natural movement of your body, you know, because the body has that innate intelligence to heal itself. Natural tendency is to heal, but it needs rest and it needs the space. And you only get full rest, by the way, if there's no thoughts in your mind. There's thinking going on of any way, shape or form. You know, you're in the past or the future, you're not here now. And that's putting pressure and signals on your body, instructions, so it's not able to fully rest. So healing can be then a much deeper and a lot faster then, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah. You said it all really well. Just obviously the medical, you know, so you have to get your, you know, check out the problem. But the fact that you're, you know, the problem is persisting, usually is indication. And there's also, you can go to I can send a website and check out whether or not it's mind-body syndrome by a very intensive questionnaire that basically identifies whether this pain is structural, for example, or, you know, for example, if it just changes it changes in position or intensity, or, you know, there's loads of different questions with regards to that, so you can actually identify it. And that's one of my key important you know, distinctions, is that yes, you have to get it checked out. And then people who have no, you know, or even if there is some structural issues. So for example, I had herniated disc, I had, you know, various different structural problems, like, you know, disc degenerative disease and fibromyalgia and all these things. And I dropped my diagnoses because they weren't serving me. They actually put me in a box. They kept me in the pain because I was told that I had this. And so therefore I actually associated myself with having, or I am, you know, and this is actually perpetuating as well, because you become identified with it. My pain. So you become like addicted, almost addicted, like a habit. So chronic, acute, you know, anything that's 6 months plus is considered chronic. And so that's a good indication. And if you've obviously gone and done all the tests and, you know, so the medical establishment has not found anything wrong with you, then, you know, you're most likely in the box of mind-body syndrome, which, like I said, there's a very nice in-depth questionnaire that you can go through and check that out for you, Arnie, if I can send that to you. Actually, I'll try and find it now. Yeah.
So while you're doing that, shall I do the little guided exercise?
Absolutely.
We wanted to finish up with just doing a little exercise for you, which is a guided meditation, really. And so if you just all want to get yourselves comfortable, and then when you're ready, just gently close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, just check in with your body for a moment. Just notice, what are you aware of? You might notice tension, uncomfortable sensations, pain, or it might just feel very rested and relaxed right now, but just watch. And just allow whatever is there to be there for a moment, and let it all just soften. Just loosen up a little bit, almost like you're unraveling an old woolly jumper, and just allowing every part of yourself to soften and relax and unwind, little bit by little bit. Like all the tension is just gradually seeping from your body. And it's becoming more soft and gentle. And then just notice the aliveness in your body. Like every cell is gently vibrating. Your heart is beating, breath is flowing. Just let all of those processes happen naturally and easily as you just watch them. And watching without any agenda. Like you don't need the pain to go, anything to change. Notice if any dialogue pops up about what I'm saying or what you're experiencing. See if you notice any of the thoughts. And just bring all of your attention onto your body. And be curious. Know what is possible right now. You notice the sensations. And then just allow your awareness to expand a little bit wider. Like, what else is there in your experience? Your awareness might go beyond the body, into the room you're in, even with your eyes closed. Or you might just stay resting gently on your body. And almost just tuning into the space in between all the cells. Because incredibly, we're 99.99% empty space. So just let yourself notice the space. Are you aware of any space? And the space might be something that you become aware of in front of you, almost like you're looking out through your eyelids with the eyes closed, and just noticing that there's this space, this darkness, this gentleness there. Just letting everything become a little bit more quiet, noticing the quiet part in your experience. Noticing the space. Noticing almost a field of awareness You are that field of awareness. You're aware of everything that is happening. Almost becoming more aware of the awareness than the content of thought or emotion or body sensations. Field of awareness is the context of everything. And with our eyes closed, we just can start to become more aware of that simply by watching, noticing what's there and allowing whatever wants to happen. And just letting everything become a little bit more gentle as you watch. Letting yourself almost melt into the chair that you're sitting on, or the bed that you're lying on. Letting everything become softer and more gentle. Just loosening up. Looser and looser. Relaxed and more relaxed. And just notice the space. Notice the quiet. Just give yourself permission to fully rest now. And to fully let everything that is in your experience be there. So it can almost rebalance itself. And what wants to move can move. If the idea of letting pain be there is an issue for you, then let the natural movement of your body that wants to happen, letting that healing happen, the maintenance of your body happen. It's all movement. If we allow that movement to flow through us, then it's always going to become more soft and gentle and easy. And just take a lovely deep breath in. And then just gently let that breath go as you breathe out. And just allow yourself to come to the end of the breath out and just pause. Just pause. Notice the stillness of that. And any time your body wants to breathe in, you can breathe in, but just notice what it's like. It's giving your body permission. The minute it wants to breathe in, it can breathe in. If that's quite soon, then you can just take another breath in, let it out, or you might still be on the end of the out breath and you're just watching. There's no right or wrong way. And just again, draw your attention to the space in front of you, around you, within you. And just be curious. What is that space of pure awareness? Allowing it to reveal itself to you more fully. You're not searching or straining to have a particular experience. You're just so fully in this moment, allowing this moment to be exactly as it is, allowing your body to be exactly as it is, letting everything in, everything there, and then letting whatever wants to move, move. Gently, effortlessly, easily. And then very gently allow your eyes to open. And just notice what you're aware of right now. What's in the room with you. You can look around or you can just stay looking at the screen and just become aware. And can you be aware of all the air in the room you're in without looking? Gently and easily. And just notice the feeling of the chair underneath your body. What's that sensation like? Where are you in contact with it? Just gently notice what that feels like. And then just notice, what else are you aware of? Maybe there's things that you see. Just notice, what are you aware of? And then notice if you can hear sounds. What sounds can you hear? The sounds in the room you're in? And can you hear any sounds that are outside of your house? Sounds from the street or the garden? What can you hear? How many sounds can you hear? Gently listen and pay attention. Are there any more sounds? And just notice that this moment is happening right now, in this moment. Just let everything be as it is. And just stay there, you know, like stay in that relaxed, calm state. You don't need to jump to attention just because the exercise ends. Take that with you throughout the rest of your day. So we've come to the end of the webinar, but there's a couple of things that we just want to share with you, you know, because pain is a really tricky one. And so for me, I think it needs that ongoing support and a place to share and ask questions and ongoing inspiration in a way, and little tips and hints to keep you going. So I've created a Facebook group if you're on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, there's also a Telegram group. And I post the same things in there. I've got a set of cards I've created so that it can give you little exercises to explore and play with. And I post them every Monday for the week ahead and invite you to play and share and ask questions. So if you would like to join in with those, then for the Facebook group, you can just look on Facebook for Peace or Pain is the name of the group. And if you want to join the Telegram group, then you can just email me, and I will just put my email, meera.ishaya@gmail.com, in the chat box. So you can email me to be added to the Telegram group. And these groups are to support people, particularly who've bought my book, and so that they can see what can actually change. You know, the book's important in that I share my own journey, my own experience, and then I share a lot of analogies, and I go on to explaining pain from a scientific viewpoint, but also from my own exploration and experience, and all the different factors that have an impact on pain. And so once you know all of those, and that starts to change your relationship actually. And then the next part is about all the different things that you can do to change your relationship with pain. That's part 3. And then the 4th part is a variety of different exercises which can help you in exploring pain. And so the Facebook group then works with that. And if you're interested in buying the book and you haven't already got it, it's available on Amazon. And the title of the book is Peace or Pain. So you can just search for that on there and find it. There's a little look inside option as well. So if you want to read the first few chapters, get a sneak peek, then you can see what that's all about. Yeah, so give me an email if you'd like to be in the Telegram group, or look for it on Facebook, and the book's available too. And the other thing that we wanted to both share with you about is that we're going to be doing a workshop to follow this. Somebody's just gone out, let them back in. We're going to do a workshop so that we can actually start to work with you more effectively to be able to change your relationship with pain. And so, yeah, there's certain things that I use with people, sometimes one-to-one and sometimes in groups. And the things that make the biggest difference is what I'll bring into this workshop. It's a couple of hours, and it's going to be in a couple of weeks' time on the 26th of April at 6 o'clock UK time. And yeah, then I've got the lovely Dr. Joanna joining me with that workshop, so you'll get the benefit of her expertise as well, and she's got a completely different approach to me. We often come to the same outcome, and we certainly have, we're very much in agreement with our understanding of pain. But Dr. Joanna has a completely different approach to me, and I think the two ways are very good at working with everybody's different approach to life, so that you'll find one that works the best for you, and we can really start to kickstart your journey with changing your relationship with pain. And maybe you want to share a little bit about that as well, Dr. Joanna.
Yeah, Chia, thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to post in the chat my Facebook page, which is Dr. Joanna Charlton, Holistic Life Coach, and also my website, which talks about the wisdom of pain healing process, which is thank you. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened there. Did you hear any of what I said, or you didn't hear anything?
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
So my Facebook page is there. I just posted it there on the chat, and the website, which you can go and have a look about the wisdom of pain healing process that I have. I do clients one-on-one, but I also have groups, mini groups, and so I'll be setting up one of those in the next couple of weeks. So if anybody's interested, I also have a holistic tips, top 10 tips that I give to anybody who wants them, that I use, the habit building for painless living, and that I was talking about, and how you can actually start to step by step improve, change your habits to change your pain and change your life. So it's a very practical, but it's also very based also on what we were kind of talking about today, like guiding you through the parts work, so identifying the pain and what it has to say, which is part of the process as well, but with a very structural aspect to it, which is the first, looking at the physical, emotional, and the mental habits that we can do to change our life. So if anybody's interested, go over there and have a look. And also the Holistic Life Coach Facebook page is, I post almost daily with little videos and various other tips and tricks that we can help each other to get out of pain. And we need to, the support is really, really important, because it's very easy to get back into the old style thinking, I've got something wrong with me, and I'm broken, and I need, whatever. So it's and the fear perpetuates and gets us into the cycle again of the fight, flight, freeze response. So it's quite important to get yourself into a Facebook or into a group, a supportive group that can really help you change your mental kind of processes about pain, because we are bombarded by, unfortunately, that we're not innately strong and we're not able to heal without all the pills and the, obviously there's a place for obviously, and there is a need, but we have to remember deeply that we are innately immensely strong and innately healthy. It's just actually getting all the stuff out of the way, and then we can find our innate health again.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you all for joining. Yeah, it was beautiful, really beautiful.
Yeah, if any of you have any questions about the workshop that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks on the 26th at 6 o'clock, you'll find it, and I'm just going to post it now on my website, boundless-meditation.co.uk, so you can then see a little bit more about the content of the course, and let us know, if you've got any questions. You can email me through that, or you can email me through meera.ishaya@gmail.com if you've got any questions. And yeah, the cost is all on there as well.
Lovely being here. Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you everyone. And
thanks,
yeah,
Arnie.
keep going, anything is possible, and you just have to be willing to keep exploring, and then it's like you suddenly get a eureka moment where everything starts to fall into place. So yeah, don't give up, keep going. We're here to help you with that. So
You're welcome, Nika.
Thank you both.
You're welcome, Valerie. Thanks, Ben. Take care. You got it. You've got it. I believe in you. You can do it.